So I've been shooting for a year now, and I wanted to share my journey with you on what it was like going from basically 0 to over 32,000 rounds. I actually started with less than 300 rounds my whole entire life prior to coming into this. With everything on hold in life, I wanted to try a new hobby. And as I started to dig, I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make a small investment. I'm gonna find like a Glock 34 and just go from there and try to figure out what I like about it. Now, truth be told, I was interested in doing 3-gun, and that's actually what I intended to do to begin with. Now, however, because we had a shortage of guns and ammo, I actually had to do some research just to find a Glock 34. Lo and behold, I actually couldn't find one at the time with the resources I had. And so I came across the Walther PPQ. Now, my logic for this isn't what everyone else's. I looked at it and I said, well, James Bond had a Walther and it's got a blue trigger and it happens to be on a lot of favorable lists for a competition pistol. And so that's where I ended up starting, was with on this Q5. And so I kept very detailed stats the whole entire year. I can tell you exactly how many rounds I shot, what inch ammo it was, and things I learned along the way. Here are some brief stats to kind of give you an idea of what I did over the course of a year. I shot 95 matches, and between matches and practice, I had 32,153 rounds. Almost 18,000 of them coming from my first PPQ. I shot a lot of rounds and matches because I figured I had a lot of ground to make up. Now, literally my first month, I actually just spent most of it just not being afraid of the gun. I put literally 5,000 rounds, just sat at the range until I was comfortable using the firearm in a safe manner, in a way that I respected it rather than being afraid of it. And then the second month, I started to introduce more competition elements. And so I started to focus on double taps, improving my grip, and then understanding the game, and obviously in a safe manner. Coming into my third month into this, I definitely had a good amount of time and a handful of matches, including 3-gun matches, which I wanted to do to begin with. As I was going through this journey, I found that learning the pistol was tremendously harder than either the shotgun or the rifle. And I felt I was so deficient in it, and so I felt that going down that path made the most sense if I wanted to develop myself as a better shooter. So months 4 through 6, I can merge them together by saying that I really wanted to get better at accuracy. And as you'll kind of go through my journey, accuracy is something I struggled with heavily. I intentionally developed these skills in this phase and really focused on making sure I had a solid, consistent grip.
114 draw.
Nice.
As I was so eager to really test my accuracy and my competition skills, I wanted to merge that all together in my first major match, which was the Florida Open. It was an incredibly hard match. I had tremendous fun doing it, and I also learned even more about myself. Now, in months 7 and 9, I really started to push the envelope of both speed, accuracy, and then I even began to explore even different platforms. One of those was a Beretta 92X Performance, which till this day is arguably one of my favorite shooting guns. And so I started to dive into it in competition. I set it up for Carry Optics and I ran it for a whole entire month. And the interesting thing was, it was like I got a full reset because I had to essentially learn a whole new platform. I had to learn how to have a double action first shot, which isn't a big deal once you dry fire it, but again, it's an added step. And when you're new and a little frustrated with some of your results, just adding to that complexity makes it harder.
I know. That's why. It's called PHAT.
So I learned very quickly that I should just stick to one platform, master it, as well as the same division. And so this is why I decided to stay in Carry Optics in the beginning. Now, when I switched back to the Walther platform, I began to focus on developing my accuracy more in depth. And I got to a point where I started to be happy with it. The only downside to it was that I was incredibly slow doing it. And so with that said, I actually won my first major IDPA match, which was the Texas State match for Carry Optic Marksman. And I won it shooting it very accurately, but very slow. Now, if you're going between IDPA and USPSA, that can be a challenge because USPSA kind of demands a little bit more of both, whereas IDPA, you can take your time to shoot things. I was still frustrated with my progress, and so I wanted a mental reset. And so for the month of June, I just focused on having fun. I shot a bunch of different platforms, and I just wanted to have at least a clear mindset of what I had to do going forward. And so by the time I got to July, I developed a different set of goals for myself. One was being an IDPA, which was to shoot on average 3 points down per stage. And so that would help me kind of set a mental bar rather than trying to compare myself to very experienced shooters. Now, simultaneously, I still wanted to get better at USPSA. And for that to happen, I had to improve my Alpha Charlie ratio. And as I started to focus on those goals and developing those intently, I also got to work alongside David of the Humble Marksman channel. And that's when a lot of my education and everything kind of started to merge together and grow.
Great.
You look like a model, Paul.
Oh, thank you. I'm blushing.
As I had developed my accuracy, I had first shot accuracy, but when I would double tap, the second one would be far low.
Stand by.
In one of his observations, he watched how I would force the gun back down after the second shot. And I never realized that because I understood recoil management was that you hold the gun as hard as possible and not let the muzzle rise. It's actually not faster, and the down part of it is when you're coming down to pull off that next round, you pull off your second round, thus it ends up shooting low. So we then invested in changing my approach on that. Now I started to have first and second shot accuracy.
219. It's pretty quick.
In the same time period, one of the big goals I had was to win my division in class at Carry Optic Nationals for IDPA. And so I spent a lot of time practicing in that. I also figured that I would round this off by doing a major USPSA match to kind of tie it out. And to give you a little innuendo of what I actually went through, I literally flew there Tuesday night to shoot Wednesday and Thursday for IDPA Nationals. The interesting thing is I ended up not doing very well at Nationals for IDPA, and literally Thursday at night, I flew to Oklahoma to shoot the Area 4 USPSA match. I woke up the next day, not with huge expectations. I said, you know, I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna shoot the match very fundamentally, and I'm gonna focus on developing my cadences because I have a tendency just to shoot one cadence in a race. With that said, I exceeded my own expectations by winning Carry Optic C class, and so I was super thrilled. So going forward, I want to introduce new things to new shooters, and I'm going to be creating a YouTube channel, so stay tuned, and I will see you around.